Tonight on the Mac to the Future Go Livecast, however you want to say it. It's episode 73. It's Waze better. Mojave is out there. Security turns out to be a profitable feature. Putting in questionable search words returns questionable results. Duh. An Apple One sells for about 5,600 times more than its original price. And Waze makes CarPlay even better. Hey, tonight on the Mac to the Future Livecast. Yeah. Hey, everybody. It is the Mac to the Future Livecast. And tonight, there is not just one, not just two, but three different people on tonight. Let's bring in contestant number one. Hey, hello there, Dave.
How you doing, guy?
I'm doing fine. Let me get your lower third going there. It looks
There it is.
fabulous.
Yes, it does.
I swear to God, everything is going well, which has me very, very concerned. How are you doing tonight?
Doing well. Glad to be here.
Okay, well, believe it or not, we have one other person. We do. It took us a while to get everybody together, mostly because of problems with the program. Yeah. Whoops, I actually didn't mean to hit that. Stop that. I hit the wrong thing. There he is. Hello, Mr. Sklar. How are you, sir? Where are you live from again?
Guatemala.
He is live from Guatemala. And there we go. All three of us on at the same time.
Hey.
Holy guacamole. That's just like amazing.
That is craziness.
It's just insane. And honestly, I have to say that I am actually stunned that so far this is working as well as it has. So I'm not going to jinx it. If I say something, it will jinx it.
We started testing at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, all right.
Hours testing.
So it took us 14 hours to get to this point. What is it you're trying to say, Warren?
Perfection takes time. It's fine.
Well,
It does.
perfection and me are two things that generally go hand in hand. Now, Warren, you're actually not on a Mac at the moment.
Oh, you're gonna call me out?
Sure, I'll call. Yeah. Right under the bus.
How can you? How could you?
I had a busy day fixing Windows computers today.
Mm-hmm.
So I made some money to pay for some toys.
Yeah.
And so tonight I'm like not so busy. I'm like, I just want to play with a Mac. So I without even thinking, I created a Mojave installer. I didn't back nothing up. I just stuck it in and wiped it, and I'm like, now that's that's.
So how did that work out?
It's going great. Except
You can't use it right at the moment.
Yes, my only other computer is the Surface Go, which I really do like. It's cute.
Yeah, it didn't work with your microphone though.
I have to blame the microphone. I have to blame the Mimio.
No. Mimo Live is fabulous. It is just fabulous. Thank you, Boink Software. All right.
Windows saw my mic. That's all I'm saying.
we love boinks.
All right. So first thing to boink. The first thing to talk about is Mac OS Mojave 10.14 was just released yesterday. How soon was it after release did you install it, Dave?
I installed it the same day, and actually it came out on Monday. I
thought it was Tuesday.
Was it Monday? I thought it was Monday. Was it Tuesday? Maybe.
Yeah, it was Tuesday.
Either way, one of those days.
No, Monday.
It was Monday, wasn't it?
It was the 24th, wasn't it?
Yeah, 24th was.
Which is Monday.
Yeah,
Okay.
See, I was right. Okay. So
All right.
As soon as it came out, 12 noon Pacific. No, it was 12 noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific. I went out to the servers, was patiently waiting, watching for it to come up into the App Store, and I went and downloaded it. kept the file because you have to keep that file because it'll delete if you install it, and created
An installer?
bootable thumb drive right away so I can start building some other machines. And so far so good. I like the dark mode. I like it seems to be a little faster. I mean, as I'm talking to you now, I'm on my MacBook Pro, and it's working great. So I mean, a lot of good features.
Yeah, I actually installed it Sunday, the beta, and it was so stupid because even I got out my laptop. I actually saw a post from Dave Hamilton from the Mac Geek app, and he was saying something like, "I'm going to go ahead and put the beta on my main machine," and I was like,
before production, I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
He's like, because I have to talk, because he's like, I have to talk about it on the Monday show, and I don't, that's why I did it.
So then what was my excuse to put it on my laptop?
You're trying to be like Dave Hamilton. I guess.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense because everybody wants to be like Dave Hamilton.
Who doesn't? Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be like Dave Hamilton? Yeah, I went ahead and even as I was installing it, I was like, this is coming out tomorrow. Why am I doing this? But
yeah. And actually, that kind of screws things up too, a little. Like, I'll give you my experience real fast. Is I already had the beta on for forever, and I was in Vegas on Monday, and the Venetian's a very nice hotel, but their Wi-Fi is
somewhat hurting.
It was horrid. So I'm like, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna start to download, and I'm gonna come back like 8 hours later, and it's gonna be finished downloaded. I was like at 100 megabytes out of 6 gigs by the time I got back. I'm like, this is not gonna work. So I didn't do it. But then when I got to the airport lounge, that had good Wi-Fi, and we were delayed by like 3 hours. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But anyways, with the beta, and I'm like, we're upset because we're jet lag. But anyways, the beta, to get to the production, you have to go into developer portal. You have to go into production sorter, get it. And anyways, it kept switching back and forth. It's like, do you want to install Mojave? I'm like, yes, that's what I want, the production version of Mojave. Reboots, everything comes up. You want to install beta now? Okay, let's install beta. Why not? And I'm bored. Came up again. Let's do Mojave. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. Why do you keep switching back? So that's why I wiped it. Another reason I wiped it. So
and then the beta version was actually one number off. It wasn't the actual production.
It wasn't
release.
The build. So I normally.
Build,
my general thing, even with iOS devices, is to wipe after the production build comes out, anyways. Because
did you just go ahead and reinstall all your apps at that point, or?
Yep, just a full. I mean, takes me 3 hours, 4 hours to
Okay. Well, do you find when you do a nuke and pave, do you find that you don't put on all of the apps that you had on before?
Sometimes, and if I do, it's a good thing because. Because at that point, I know what I need to put on there, and then if down the line I forgot something, I'll put it on. But if I don't put it back on, then I'd rather not have it anyway. So, it's not really needed anymore. It's Mac. The only place that kind of gets messy is under application support. It doesn't always delete out all the files under application support in that directory for the most part. So I've manually gone in there and cleaned it out, but it's just a habit now, and I'll do the same with iOS devices too. Except reinstalling everything on iOS is a pain, so I don't do that. I'll do a fresh iOS restore
without taking off all the apps.
Well, I'll do it fresh, and then I'll restore it from an iCloud backup at that point from there.
That's what I do.
Yeah, so that seems to work.
Well, I know about every second or third gen of Mac OS, I'll do a nuke and pave just to get all the old crap out, because I find that as time goes by, I'll sit there and go, I need to do something, so I'm going to find an app. And then I'll find the app that does that, and then I'll never use that app again. So usually by the time the second or third gen of the Mac OS comes out, it's like, do I still need these 12 programs? No, I don't think I do. So I just get rid of them.
And you could always put them. I mean, it's nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially now with the Mac App Store. So you don't even have to worry about it. And I mean, there are some applications I have that don't go through this store.
I'm about half-half. I'm
Yeah.
half.
Half-assed? About
Half-ass,
half
half-ass.
You know,
Yeah,
half-apt.
half-half.
what I use is I'm sure you guys use Hazel. Hazel does a great job of when you do a delete an app,
Reggie Ashworth.
it cleans it all out, and so and there's lots of times I do a lot of cleanup of apps. I did it after I did Mojave of some apps, and I don't know why do I have this app in here installed? It's garbage, so I did clean it out, and then Hazel gets rid of all the reg crap, and that's a
Not reg.
must-have app. I'm
No
sorry.
reg.
I'm in
Just
Windows. It
reg.
was this morning. Windows, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
me too,
well-
all
so-
the gook.
Well, what is it about Mojave that you like or dislike the most so far?
Well, again, dark mode I really like. I didn't think I would get used to it too quick. I mean, I had been running that beta on different machines. Really like that, and I really one of the other features is this. It's a new screenshot features. They
Yeah.
really have done an absolute amazing job. I mean, I mean, it could almost put some of these other third party apps out of business. I mean, they really have come a long way. I mean, I use Snagit, and I've used and I've used the screenshots built in as well. And yeah, my gosh, they really came a long way with this because for years we know the shortcuts, the Control Shift 4 and copying stuff. So now it's you got the tool right there. I put the shortcut right in my dock. I didn't leave it in the utilities, and I really like that. And the stacks, I think I'm getting used to the stacks. It seems like it works really well, and I like the fact that it's now grouping everything, so I don't have a.
Well, do you have like a disastrous desktop where you have
No, I don't,
crap all
but
over it?
No, my desktop's pretty clean. I try to get rid of everything that's on my desktop. On Windows, on the other hand, that's a whole other story because it's work.
Yeah,
but on
Stacks
on
is
Mac,
actually something I kind of wish was on Windows.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and those are probably the two things that stood out so far. But again, we've only had it 2 days.
What about you, Warren?
Yeah, I mean, I like switching between dark mode and light mode a lot. I'll do that a lot just to change it up. I like the screenshot tool. I use that a lot. But mostly it's just performance speed. Just not much else that it does that Sierra didn't, High Sierra didn't do.
Well, there was. I mean, you have things like what do they call that? Dynamic desktop,
Right.
where the screen kind of darkens and lightens depending on what the time of day is, and obviously it's not really taking a snapshot of the environment that you're in. It's just going based on your location and what time of day it is.
Yeah.
Right, the mountains get darker, which is kind of cold. But I generally don't use the that desktop. I like to go. I have in my photos. I have a favorites folder in my photo library, and I'll scroll through that, which I like to do.
Something else I really like is quick actions in preview, where a lot of the tool and something that they said when they were talking about Mojave that I found interesting, and I'm also finding to be kind of true. With certain types of documents, you don't even really have to open the parent application anymore. A lot of times if you just need to do a quick edit, with photos or with a Word document or something along those lines, you can just open it up in preview, use the built-in tools that are there, close it back up, and you're done. You're good.
Yep. It's got more viewers and pre-installed.
Yeah.
It is. So you don't have to open the app.
And with you were talking about the screen capture.
Yep.
I mean, there were I think 6 different commands for screens. You had Shift Command 3, Shift Command 4, Shift Option Command 3, Shift Option Command, so on and so forth, and they all did different things. You couldn't unless you had those memorized. If you didn't use them all the time, I would typically just use Shift Command 4 and then just do a cut of whatever it was that I wanted to get a screenshot of.
Right.
But with the new screen grab utility that's built in, you just do one Shift Command 5, and then you pick from a drop down menu which one it is that you want.
Menus. Yeah,
I didn't
really
even
a game
know.
changer.
Yeah, I've been I am not a. I was not a screens. I was not a screenshot power user before this at all. So this is good for me. I I think what did I
You're
do
missing a
before
hat.
this?
Frank Petrie says you're missing a hat, Warren.
I know. I had 2 years. I didn't make it. Maybe next year I'll go.
Yeah, we need to get this guy to Mac stock. I'm telling you.
Or at least get him a
sure.
hat.
No, we can get you a hat.
Yeah.
We should send you a hat.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it'd
would-
be a lot cheaper just to give you a hat, man.
I was there. I promise. The hat.
See, I got a hat.
I got the hat. I was there.
Something else that I really like is the built-in password management and the fact that unlike in the past when Apple has kind of gone into areas where third-party developers had kind of ruled, and they would, they even had a name for it it was called Sherlocked. So Apple would come in and say, you know what, we really like the way you do XYZ. So we're going to do that too, and you can just go away and find something else to do. But they didn't do that so far anyway with password managers. They really seem to kind of go out of their way to work with like LastPass and 1Password so that it complements those services as compared to just taking over all of their functionality.
Yeah, just like what they did with iOS. Now is absolutely amazing. You got 1Password integrated into the OS, and they I know have accepted 1Password. In fact, I remember the news story that's saying that Apple was going to issue out 1Password to all their employees and on all their computers on Macs. So I mean they've definitely welcomed these password managers for sure, but adding that extra support is huge. I mean, it's more than ever. People have to start keeping their passwords secure. Help them from not using the same password over and over again for all the same password on every site you have, and a lot of other things. But yeah, big improvement for that too.
Apple,
Go ahead.
I'm just saying Apple's very big on when they allow third parties to do things to their stuff. They make a big deal out of it, and everybody claps. I mean, that's historically Apple. So, and they do it for reasons. They half of it's just to make you use their stuff, and the other half is to test it to make sure it doesn't screw anything up with their system, and it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. I can't use Stacks because I don't have a lot of stuff all over my desktop. I basically have, as soon as I hit go ahead and start Stacks, the only thing that happened was my documents folder showed up on my desktop. That was really the only real difference. But I don't have any other folders on my desktop because I didn't keep a lot of stuff that way. I actually would get on people when, like my son Peter, when he got my Mac Pro, when I got this iMac, the first time after we got it working properly, the first time I went down there to do something, I can't remember what it was, but I was there doing something, and he fires up his computer, and I looked at the display that he had going, and it was like, oh my God, there was just like, it was like God had said, here's a lot of stuff, there, and it was like all over the place, and it was a complete mess. And that actually, I mean, it's not as much as big of a deal now as it was 10 years ago, but that can actually slow down your computer a little bit because it has to keep track of where all those things are every single time there's any change on your desktop. But yeah, it with multi-core processors, it's not really the big deal that it used to be.
That was always a big thing with Windows. I mean, every time I would cringe every time I go to a user I'm helping, and gosh, you got ridiculous amounts of icons. I mean, it fills the entire page. And then when they put their laptop into their big screens, of course they got lots of space, but it's just crazy. It does slow it down.
Dave and I know from doing IT support with that, it's like a user will come over in there and say, I used to have this on your desktop, and we would go look at it and go,
where is it?
So then we would click the start menu and go to the actual desktop folder. So it's an actual folder. So you could sort it by name without changing too much going on and search for it at least. But yeah, and it's a Windows thing more than a Mac thing.
It is. I agree.
I've seen things that I can't unsee on Windows desktop. So.
Okay. Is there anything else about Mojave that you guys want to talk about before we move on?
No, I'm good.
All right.
It's good.
You might have something.
What do you got, Warren? Was there something else you wanted to talk?
I said it's good.
Oh, it's good. All right. Next thing to talk about that it turns out that pushing security is actually good marketing. With the security measures taken in macOS and iOS as compared to their major competition, Apple has been touting their security initiatives long before such things became big news, and it seems to be paying off. Sales of Macs have never been higher than in the last few years, and iOS devices have become the biggest source of revenue for Apple. Better yet, and perhaps more important, few people who go to Apple have a tendency to switch to something else. iPhone retention rate is typically between 85 and 90%, which any manufacturer would give their eye teeth for. I remember back when this first started becoming a thing, was the unfortunate incident in San Bernardino, and the FBI had a phone from the couple that had kind of perpetrated the whole thing, and they wanted Apple to break it, and Apple was basically like, no, we not only can we not do that, we're not going to do that. And there was, and a typical overreaction from mostly people who don't use Apple products was, well, you won't do what the FBI is asking you to do. You must hate America. It's like, no, this isn't about hating America. This is about protecting the information that not these two idiots had on their phone, but the information that you have on your phone, and that person over there has on their phone, and that person over there has on their phone. It's not a question of, we need to see what's on this person's phone because they may or may not have done something bad. It's like if you open up that door to allow any government to get inside of your phone, you will never close it again. And this has been proven time and time again. Any security feature that is compromised in the name of national security doesn't remain a security feature very long.
Yeah. I think Apple in itself does a great job with security. I'm working with a lot of stuff now and understanding what security is all about with not only Mac OS and iOS. I mean, just looking through it and comparing it between Mac and Windows. I mean, I've gone through a whole stig to have to go through and understand every single piece of security on a Mac. And then I went back and looked at the list of all the items that are available, that are out there for Windows. I'm like, my God! I mean, we had about 90 or 100 listed items to go through with security on Mac, but they're like 200-300 items on a Windows machine. So I think Apple's done a great job of really putting really powerful security on these devices, whether it be iOS or Mac OS. You can't beat, and you really look at those percentages. People see that how they value what an iOS device is, and what it does to protect you from that kind of stuff. So,
sorry, go ahead, Warren.
No, I was going to say, and they continue to do it though. I mean, Jeff in the Facebook group on your page says they hired a third-party tool anyways to unlock the phone, which. Okay. They did, but then Apple
closed that door.
Yeah, they closed the door in the next release.
And it's so are you saying that are we saying that Apple is trying to not help the government at all to get into this stuff, and even making it more difficult for anybody to get into it? And what happens, everybody reads a story. They don't know all the past stuff, but somebody read a story and said, oh, some company found a way to hack into iPhones. And then the public's like, oh, my iPhone's going to be hacked. So Apple's like,
no, it doesn't really work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
But we all know that that's how people think it works, because they'll see a news story that said they got into an iPhone, and now everybody's panicking because the people who don't understand technology panic. And so Apple, in their wisdom, said, you know what, we fixed it. That's fixed. The new update you can't have anymore. And it's just going to keep going that way if there's a perception of Apple losing its touch on security for whatever reason. and unfortunately, giving government access will equate giving less secure devices, so that they have no
Well,
choice.
the thing is, it's not just all right. You want to trust the U.S. government, that's fine. But it doesn't stop there. Number one, any kind of opening that is given to the U.S. government eventually will leak. But let's say that whatever security opening that Apple would put in doesn't leak out from the U.S. government. However, Apple has to obey the laws of every single other country that they do business in. So if Apple gives this back door to the US government, the next thing you know, you've got countries all over the world saying, okay, well, we just passed a law that says you have to give us that same back door. And
But
Apple, if Apple can sit there and say, we don't have a back door, we don't know of any easy, legitimate way to break into individual iPhones, that shuts the door on everybody. You
Right.
just can't do it. And I understand why they went in the direction that they did, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, except with China, they sort of had to do something.
Well,
They
they gave access to the iCloud
on
servers.
local servers. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I mean, and yeah, but the
there are ways there. I mean, Chinese people that aren't stupid, if they're doing something that they don't want the government to find out about, there are ways around anything that the Chinese government could do as far as the phones go.
right. But when they did that, people were like, Apple's could a government make Apple do something, or do they have a price tag? Who knows? But and it goes hand in hand. It's a price tag. I mean, they don't want
Right.
to lose China. China has a lot of money for them. And,
Sure.
Sure is.
not only not that, but China's their production, for the most part. So
Well, assuming who knows what's going to happen with all these tariffs going on right now.
Yeah, but Apple's
Yeah.
exempt from that too.
No, they're really not.
Well, iPhone and few other products are.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's not go down that rat hole.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to take a break? Or you want to do one more story before we take a break, or one more thing? Thing.
Yeah, go take a break. We're halfway there.
All right. So, everyone, everyone,
Back from that Bon Jovi concert.
yeah. Everyone, hold on, and we're gonna take a little break, and we will be right back. Are you a new Mac user or an old hand? Wish you could know the ins and outs, keyboard shortcuts, or hidden tips and tricks to make you more efficient using your favorite computer? Hey, it's your lucky day, because Edward Eisen has written a great guide to knowing more about the Mac and the OS that it runs on. It's called This is the Light Side, and it's available through Apple's iBookstore or with Amazon. Better yet, it's not a stuffy old book that gathers dust on the shelf once the next operating system is released, because it's an ebook that you can look at anytime you want. It won't get outdated because it's continuously being updated. Information on setting up your new Mac, installing and getting rid of applications, security settings and what to look out for, keyboard shortcuts, some basic app recommendations, how to use Windows on your Mac, if you really want to, that is, advanced topics, searching, using iCloud, and much more. All this for a mere 99 cents. Go to the iBookstore or Amazon and check out Edward Eisen's This is the Light Side. It's the book you want on your virtual shelf. Hey, okay, we are back live. I just got to turn audio back on. We have audio again, guys. Hello.
We do?
We do.
I see audio. I don't see Dave on my screen. But
You will in
know.
just a second. As soon as I do this,
Oh, poof.
it's just like I know what I'm doing. No, I really don't know what I'm doing. It's a crapshoot almost every single time. All right, people who have been following this show for as long as they have, they know exactly what that means. Okay, next one. This one, I don't know what kind of rat hole this is going to go down. Safari search results sometimes go to questionable sites. Wow. When searching for questionable content, Safari returns questionable sites. BuzzFeed contacted Apple, and when they were asked about some of the search results, they were told they were informed of sites with demonstrate what's that word? Demonstrably fake news.
the monsters. The
Thank you.
monstery.
Yeah, it's monstrously fake news, like Pizzagate, something called QAnon. I have no idea what that is, or Holocaust denier sites. And when Apple was informed of these, they removed those results and because I know Google went through this themselves not that long ago, and they started kind of not so much. I mean, they can't remove the sites, but they can certainly prevent those sites from coming up in search results. And I mean, is it really that big a deal, considering that the people that believe in a lot of this conspiracy stuff already know how to get to the sites that are going to feed them whatever nonsense it is that these sites are going to return?
Yeah.
It's getting to a point where Twitter or Facebook, Apple, they're going to start getting liable for all the
Well, yeah,
content
there's a thing in Europe right now, as a matter of fact, where they're saying basically they have an hour to remove questionable results when informed of it by somebody. I haven't really seen, and there's the guy that's kind of pushing this, and it's I am not a fan of censorship. That I kind of feel that people are going to pick and choose their BS regardless of whether you make it easy for them to find it or not. So, to jump into something like, well, if you don't get rid of this content that we find objectionable, that some government body or some I can't even think of the word, some group of people that are going to be responsible for monitoring the kinds of search results that people will get from Apple or Google or from whoever, that once this group contacts whatever company, that they have 1 hour to remove it or they get heavily fined. You got to kind of ask, who watches the Watchmen?
But that's who should be responsible. So let's say somebody creates a web page that's bad. All right. So now you got the
well, first we have to agree on what's bad and what isn't bad. See, and there's so much of a slippery slope there that it really makes me nervous.
Right. And I mean, yeah, what's the cutoff? I mean, obviously there's some obvious ones, threatening, you have threats against people, child pornography. There's things.
Very much so.
There's things that we could pretty much, as a society, at least from the national level, agree that's
crap.
Yeah.
The fake moon landing crap, the 9/11 conspiracy crap.
That's so, when I go to threatening like the president and child pornography, that's a deep level of crap. And then when I get like conspiracy theories, that's like another, like a higher level of crap. So I mean, it's there's things that we know that have to be banned. Just as a society, and there's things,
or at least not make it easy to find.
I mean,
Right.
look
Well,
at
that's
the
the
articles
thing.
mentioned.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody starts a website and goes to GoDaddy and registers. I want to kill guysearle.com and
Well,
makes
they can't. I've already got that domain.
all right. I want to kill guy with S Searle, whatever your name is.
I'm
So
liking where this
then-
conversation is going.
Man,
So somebody has to shut it down. Is it going to be GoDaddy? All right. So let's say GoDaddy doesn't shut it down. Google. You search,
GoDaddy shouldn't shut it down.
Right. Well, maybe they should, or maybe they shouldn't. Now you go to Google and search how can I kill Guy, and their site comes up.
So easy.
Is Google? It's just so easy. So is the web search responsible? I mean,
There's the window right there. From 8 to 9 p.m. on Wednesday nights, just go to that window. Shoot right through. I'm done. See, you don't even need, I'll tell you, you don't even need a Google search.
Well, no, I'm trying to study your background just so I know where to put the gun.
yeah.
There we go.
Look at that big spot on that curtain.
That's from all the cats.
But they even mentioned in the article about the Infowars. That was a big
Yeah.
thing with everything got banned by what he was doing. It's the same thing. I mean, that was conspiracy and crap that he was talking about, and almost everybody's banned him. So he's done pretty much.
Well, I mean, all that content is still there. It's just
Right.
he can't link to it through Facebook. He can't link to it through Twitter or iTunes. Or I think it's still in Google Play. It was still in Google Play last I heard. I haven't checked.
No.
So it's and this is the thing. Okay, he owns these websites and the websites and the servers where all this content lives still exists. And in a free society, that's okay as long as. I don't even want to go into the varying degrees of badness for what is the trigger for pulling somebody's website.
Right.
But what I don't have a problem with is Apple and Facebook and YouTube and all these other sites going, you know what, we're not going to link to your stuff. So the crazy people that watch your stuff have to find it some other way.
Right.
All I could say is your cats are high contributors of I want to kill guysearle.com.
I am not stunned. That does not surprise me in the slightest.
They have crazy ideas. I wouldn't sleep in your house.
They've left all that fur behind.
Well, it's not you they're after, so it's me. It's me that they're after. Except for Jelly, she's a sweetie. All right.
Right.
Let's move to something that's a little more fun. There was an actual functioning Apple One computer that sold for $375,000. And this is, not only is it functional, but for $375, they included a case, they included a keyboard, and they included a monitor. I mean, that's a bargain at twice the price.
Well,
Which is what the last one that was actually fully functioning went for. It was about twice that price.
I think they said 3 times. This was the third, the last one that sold.
Yeah, because there were, let's see, there's 60 to 70 Apple ones that are still in existence out of the 200 that were designed by the Steves and initially priced at $666.66. According to the Gavel Bashers at R&R Auction. So this basically means that in 1976, if you bought an Apple One, that your return on investment is going to be about 5,600%, which is not bad for $666 investment. What was that?
The nightly wife call, knowing that I'm here.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, he's got the sound effect.
Yeah, I've been good. I've been good so far.
Now I got to text her and let her know I'm not doing my podcast. Yeah.
Well, what do you guys think about this?
Hey, That just shows the value of Apple and Apple's products. I mean, what does $666 translate out in today's dollars? Because that's
It's probably like 3 or 4 times that, but I mean, we're talking about something that's like, if you take, let's just go 400%. So you're looking at about $2,500, $2,600 in today's dollars for an Apple One.
Yeah.
This guy, whoever it is that owns this, got $375,000, and it was 6 months ago. I think somebody got like $675,000 for a functioning Apple One, or maybe that's what they wanted and they weren't able to sell it, and so they pulled it off of the auction. But that's just like crazy. That's so much money.
It is. Someone has a lot of money to spend that would bid on that.
I mean, what would you even do with it? What could you do with it?
It's a museum piece. That's really, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, what else can you do with it? I mean, just be nostalgic and play with it. I mean,
Chick stick it.
Oh yeah. Check out my Apple One, baby.
Yeah, look at that. It's a chick magnet.
Yeah. Never mind the functioning 747-8 that I have that I take to work every morning. Check out this Apple One. Yeah, it's really something. I was watching a video on YouTube. It was like the top 10 private jets. And they had like Tom Cruise's, he has like a Gulfstream 4 or 5, something like that. And there's a Saudi prince that actually has a custom 747-8. And somebody else in that same area has. I mean, it's ridiculous. And we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. They put in, I know we're going completely off the rails here. They put in solid gold fixtures in the bathroom of a 747. It's like, okay, all I want, what I want? I want the civilian version of the C-130, which is the L100, so that I can take my custom Volkswagen van and just kind of roll it into the back of this C-130 and take it down to Florida or wherever I wanted to go with it. That's all I want. And so, I don't think that's asking for too much. I just want a C-130.
I saw I read an article yesterday about Trump's, we won't talk about him, but his motor cars are new from Cadillac, and it's like
you're talking about the official limousines of
Yeah.
Okay, well those don't belong to Trump. Those belong to the US government.
Right, but they're his at this point.
They're his to use, yes.
Yeah, but anyways, it was a cross between the Cadillac car, and it had some aspects of the SUV in there, and they were just kind of talking about it. The funniest part of it is there's 2 of them, and they call one spare. But the spare always drives in the same. It drives along with it. Just so you know, no.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same thing with Air Force One. Air Force One is a designation; it's not the actual plane. Right. So it's whatever plane the president happens to be in. It could be a Cessna. If President Trump got into a Cessna and flew from National Airport to Annapolis, well, for the length of that flight, that Cessna would be Air Force One.
Yeah, I learned that from the movie with Harrison Ford.
Oh, did you? Okay. I just know these things for some reason.
I think it was called Air Force One.
They said they have blood in that limousine too, for Trump's blood.
They do, yeah. I saw it.
Yeah, just in case he needs it.
Okay.
We're gonna hear some phone numbers here.
We're gonna move on.
That's spam.
All right. Last thing to talk about tonight.
Yeah. Alexa, hang up.
Alexa isn't gonna listen. She isn't gonna listen to you.
Alexa's not happy.
I told her what to do. She listens.
Waze and Google Maps are now working sort of with Apple's CarPlay. Now, do either one of you have CarPlay?
No, I don't.
I wish I did.
I wish I did too.
That was actually one of the conditions of buying a car for me. I wanted it to have CarPlay because when I
agree.
I tested two different cars. I tested a Kia Soul and a Buick Encore. They both had CarPlay, and I decided that whatever car I was going to get, it was going to have it. So I ended up with a Kia Soul. The Kia Soul has CarPlay, and now I have Waze, sort of, and it sort of works. Something I found that's really, really weird is basically the only way these work is you have to have your phone physically connected to the head unit via a USB cable to Lightning port.
But that was just right. That was the same with maps too. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you do that, Waze, and as far as I know, Google Maps can't hear you. You can't use the audio input to tell Waze I want to go to my buddy Fred's house, or I want to see where the nearest gasoline station or whatever is. You can't use the built-in audio input to do that. That only works with Apple Maps, which I thought was kind of weird.
Oh.
Now the output does go through your car stereo speakers, but it's the
I
input
think
part that doesn't.
They'll fine tune it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's new.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing I found that really didn't work that well. And somebody was telling me, maybe it was something I saw on Facebook that they wanted to delete Apple Maps and just use Google Maps or Waze.
I saw that too.
Yeah, and when they did, it didn't work because they didn't have audio. They went to try to put a contact in, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
I think it was also when you delete it out and you try to call a location, it didn't work because it needed maps. So like if you said, take me to here and now call that, it didn't know what to do. It lost the association to call something.
Well, I mean, I imagine it will get fixed, but for now, it doesn't work like I think people are going to expect it to.
Yeah. No, it's going to take a while.
But now, the thing is now my iPhone Max is about to, and I'm not kidding because I just got
10S Max. Is that what you have too, Dave?
Yeah, we both. But yes, but
I have
the
an
thing
8.
is,
8 Plus.
But what I'm saying is,
I don't care.
What I'm saying is, it's nearly the size of my in-car's navigation system.
Really?
It's almost there.
Sideways.
So I mean, like essentially, I do have CarPlay.
Yeah.
Because I have this, and I just put it on a mount and turn it sideways, and now I have CarPlay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the same thing actually.
But what kind of mount do you use for it in your car? I used to, in the Flex, I had this thing that would plug into the CD player.
That's what
because
have.
I never used the CD player once.
I love it. I still use mine, and it's perfect. And it plugs right into the CD player.
Right, and then you turn the knob. Right, and it spreads.
And then spread, and then like it's got and you just get it right in there, and this fits perfectly. And it's great. I still use it. So.
Yeah, that's what I was using in the flat. I gave it to Peter when I got the Soul, because I didn't. Well, number one, the Soul didn't have a CD player. It was all either radio or digital. But even if it had a CD player with CarPlay, I just originally couldn't think of any reason to continue to use it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a lot of screens in my car.
Well, is CarPlay something that you guys think that for the next car that you get, is that going to be something that you want?
Absolutely.
We'll see. Well, we'll see what it looks like when I'm ready.
It all depends. Yeah, I mean, I tend to not buy a new car. I always buy used. So
yeah, well, that's what I did too. Mine was a 2016.
So yeah, I'll have to wait.
Well, you saw it. You drove in it, didn't you drive in it? No,
but I was
I drove to your house.
Yeah, I was there. I saw it.
Okay.
The thing with the car stuff though is, the CarPlay is getting more popular because it's headless, more or less. It's
right.
When you're BMW or Chevy, and you put an infotainment system in, the risk of it losing its technical.
I mean, nobody keeps them. Nobody keeps them up.
Yeah.
No,
None of
my
the none of the
dad-
car manufacturers keep those up.
So I got a 2015 Audi A6 that
Mhm.
when I bought it was the entertainment system is great. It's still pretty good, but just as an example, it has internet connectivity, 3G. That's all you can get in there.
Right.
So the only thing you can get in there is a 3G.
Right. Well, those are the
You can't
radios
change-
that were built in.
Right. So I mean, and people get pissed after a few years. You're like, now I want internet in my car or whatever, and I don't want 3G, and that's how.
Too
That's
bad.
why it's too bad, but that's why these headless systems are going that way because they're saying,
Right.
listen, dude, we're just giving you a screen. You plug in something to our screen and you make it work,
Yeah.
and we don't care what it is. So that's the hope.
I mean, the same thing's going on with I have Dodge, and it's got the old Uconnect, and I mean, for its time, had a
Yeah.
great interface. It works. I mean, I get what I need, but yeah, I terribly miss wanting to have CarPlay for sure.
Well, if you figure CarPlay and Android Auto, it makes it easier for car manufacturers too. So it saves them
Right.
money. It saves them from having to source out somebody to go and create one of these units.
Right.
I think that's going to about do it for tonight. Warren, is there any contact information that you'd like to give, or is it still just go to Facebook and find me there?
I have a new iPhone and a new Apple Watch and all these computers, and there's still no way to contact me. So
Okay.
find me on Facebook. It's all good.
How about you, Dave?
Well, I have a podcast, In Touch with iOS, and intouchwithios.com. So you can go listen to me there. Just an episode yesterday with Mr. Chuck Joyner. So go over there and take a listen. And we had a lot of fun yesterday. And then I am on Twitter's at DaveG65. You can find me there as well.
And if you would like to get a hold of, there I am. If you'd like to get a hold of me, my email address is guy@mymac.com, probably. I can also be found, where is it? There we go. I can also be found on the Twitters, where my handle there is MacPettit. And I haven't done one in almost a week now. I'm still doing Guy's Daily Drive, which is about a 10 to 15 minute video show that I convert over to audio. You can subscribe to that in iTunes as well as over there on the Tubes of You. What else? I also do, of course, the mymac.com podcast. Come on, there we go. I do the mymac.com podcast with Mr. Gazmaz. Do that almost every single weekend that we've been doing for 8.5 years. I think about that sometimes.
Many
and
years.
It's like, I was in my 40s when I started podcasting. And now
You're old.
I am. I'm 58 now. I can't believe it. How the hell did I turn 58? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Anyway,
fun.
I think that is going to do it for this evening. I'd like to thank both Dave and Warren for coming on and putting up with me while I figured out why I couldn't get audio working because it was being problematic.
Remember what you did and save it for next time.
Yeah, well, that's the nice thing about Mimo is I can just save this configuration. And
next week we're going to go through the exact same thing.
Probably. But it was weird because I had it all working before, and then something happened when I updated to Mojave because it stopped working the way I expected it to, and I lost I had a custom configuration that I had created via the one that I'm using tonight, and everything worked fine because Dave, you and I used it, 2 weeks ago,
right.
a week ago, something like that, and everything was fine. And then when I started it up tonight, it was like, wait a second, where is everybody? And, couldn't see you, couldn't hear you. I could see the audio little thingies, the meters going back and forth, so I knew audio was coming in. I just couldn't hear it. Anyway, that is going to do it for this evening. Thank you all so very, very much for joining us and listening to our crazy nonsense. We will catch you next week at 8 o'clock, more or less, right here on the Facebooks. Dave, would you like to say good night?
Good night.
Warren, say good night, Warren.
Good night, Warren.
See, I knew that was going to happen. Bye.
Bye.